What happens when you quarrel with the bellower?
Sandy, I'm new to London, and I'm beginning to realise that when someone has a dispute or a quarrel, the English language works at two levels.
Yes.
I realised in Britain when someone says to me, Anuvab, I have a slight issue.
Yeah.
It means I've killed their whole family.
Yeah. I think that is entirely true. OK, so the bellower is the nickname of an actor called James Quinn. He was the leading actor in London in the first half of the 18th century.
What has he come as now?
Well, that apparently is him giving his Coriolanus.
Is it really?
Yeah. But I think it's more anus than Coriolanus. He was unbelievably quarrelsome, and he actually killed 2 people in duels and wounded multiple others. He had one of the loudest voices in show business. He also did excessive gesticulation, and he left extremely long pauses. These were all the hallmarks of a great actor at that time. So would-be actors were schooled in 3 different pauses. There was moderate, longer, and grand. And because you're all natural performers, I thought we would see how you would fare on stage in Quinn's era. So we're going to act out what's written on the script cards that you've got on the desk. So Jason and Anuvab, a bit of quarrelling, please, from Titus Andronicus. Very loud, very big gestures,
yes.
Pausing.
OK, here we go. Villain, what hast thou done?
That, sir, which thou canst not undo.
Thou hast undone our mother.
You do know after that. That's very good.
I was taken aback for
Yes, no.
Do a
Grand pause. Do a grand pause.
Villain, I have done thy mother.
That's an early your mum joke from Shakespeare there.
I like that.
He invented the word quarrelsome, actually. It's, in fact, the only word he coined beginning with Q. It comes up in As You Like It and in The Taming of the Shrew. Right, Alan and Aisling, I've got an EastEnders-style script for you. I'm actually going to take a small part in this myself.
Oh.
I know. So, you know, big gestures, big pausing. Here we go.
OK.
Oh, Aisling. I'm having some real barney rubble with me old trouble and strife. She found a pair of your Anna Wickers in my Lucy locket.
Oh, Alan. You absolute donor. You need to be more careful.
Now, what's this all about?
Stay out of this!
You cow!
You kiss you.
Stop! This cow. You're not my mum.
Actually... she is.
You read 1984. Hands up if you read 1984. Wow, that's pretty good. How many? Yeah. The fact is, research on several occasions show that at least a quarter of the people who claim to have read 1984 are lying. So I'm afraid we have to take points away from you. Yeah. Can you put your hand up if you said you'd read it, but actually secretly you haven't?
Oh, come on.
Come on. You look very secret. Yes. The honest man in the back has earned some of the audience. I have to confess here, I studied English at university. I haven't read it.
I should hope not. What kind of English degree would include something written as late as 1940?
Well, that's true. Yes, we read things written in 1370. But I kind of felt I didn't need to, which is an appalling thing to say.
Oh, it's terribly good, Stephen.
Well, I kind of... I
Look at
know...
all the TV shows named after it.
2, at least. Room 101 and Big Brother.
Oh, that's Room mine.
Oh, sorry. I know how it opens. It opens with the clock striking 13. I know the character's
Really
called
good,
Winston.
and they made a film of it with John Hurt.
Yeah.
He called it
It's
that.
to bother, isn't it, when there's a great film of a book? I was the same with A Muppet Christmas Carol. I feel it's been done.
Why would you
I know
bother?
what the turkey does in the story. Why read it?
It is a masterpiece of a film, it has to be said.
I lie a lot to impress people. And I'll be honest now, I have never read The Hungry Caterpillar. It gets so close to the end, and I get too emotional. I'm like, he's gonna die. He's overfed himself. I can't do it, and I stop. So I just pretend that I've read it.
No, he becomes a butterfly.
Is he Kaiser's?
Spoiler!
So sorry, that was wrong of me. Oh. I knew someone who gave away the end of Psycho. It's nearly as serious as that.
Oh, my God.
There are some books that you don't need to bother reading, like good books that you don't need to bother reading. Like, it's controversial to say it, but I don't think Harry Potter is worth reading. It is so expertly narrated on the audiobooks.
You're so right.
No, but I do, after I listen to the Harry Potter books, with you narrating them, everything in my life is narrated by Stephen Fry. All my thoughts, my internal monologue is now Stephen Fry's voice. Even the dirty thoughts are Stephen's voice. No, because it makes it acceptable. I had a sexual thought the other day, I put my hand in the air, I had a sexual thought about Camilla Parker Bowles. It didn't seem weird because Stephen was saying it to me.
Which of these would you rather have on your Quidditch team? A Muggle, Hagrid, or Dumbledore?
Is it the one that looks like Julius Caesar who's about to be sick in a bucket?
I don't know which one that is.
On the left.
Oh, see, yes, it does. I think that's Dudley, is it?
Yeah.
The point is, in a lot of J.K. Rowling's work, the words are real, and Dumbledore is a real English word, as is Hagrid, as is Muggle. And I want you to tell me what they really mean.
Dumbledore's going to be some sort of a term for a village idiot, I think.
Well, funnily enough, yes, it became that. In Thomas Hardy's Under the Greenwood Tree, it means a slow simpleton. It's used as a bit of a Dumbledore, but actually it has an original earlier meaning, yeah?
Is there not a Hagrid reference in one of the Thomas Hardy books?
There may well be.
I don't know, one of the Thomas Hardy books. I don't know which
I've
one.
read, I mean, I've seen
sure
the longer form, Hagridden, I've seen many times, but start with...
Monster-like.
Start with Muggle. Do you know where the word Muggle might first have been
Sounds
used?
like some sort of woodland creature or something furry.
Actually, it's an American Jazz Age word. It's a drug.
It's a marijuana.
Marijuana is the right answer. Muggle was a word for marijuana, for cannabis, and indeed more particularly for people who smoked it. They were muggles.
Really?
People who smoked marijuana were called muggles.
That's hilarious.
But what's the next word, then? We've got Hagrid, which is used in Thomas Hardy, you're right, in the Mayor of
I've seen it in the longer form, Hagridden.
Yes, Hagridden. Yeah. Very good.
Try that.
Clever of you.
It means... Hagridden. It means a bony old horse.
It's a mare.
It's a nightmare.
Yes.
It's a nightmare involving a horse. No.
Was there somebody chasing through?
If you had bad dreams, you were said to be hag-ridden.
Oh, that's great.
That your witches had come to you in the night. You were hag-ridden.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, to be Hagrid.
Is that a drunk person not finding the toilet?
Well, it's a... since records began... That's horrible. When people sleep...
They'll feel terrible when they wake up.
That's a relationship that's not going to survive, isn't it?
When people sleep badly these days, they think they've been probed by aliens, but before the idea of aliens came, it was goblins and witches and demons and hags. And that's what Hagridden means.
What's the horse doing?
That's the nightmare.
He's operating the video.
Very good.
With his big hooves.
So that leaves us with Dumbledore, which, as you say, has been used to mean a slight simpleton. There's the great Gambon. But it had an earlier meaning, and the first half of it...
Dumble.
Dumble. Think of a rhyming word for dumble.
Jumble.
Mumble, mumble, crumble.
Mumble.
Not mumble.
Mumble.
Bumble.
Yes.
Bumblebee. It's a type of bee.
It is a bumblebee.
I've redeemed myself.
Yeah, there were different ways of saying it. A door means a humming insect in Old English. So a Dumbledore was a bumblebee.
That's great.
That's what the word means. It's rather nice.
Wow. That's great.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Pleasing.
I can't believe I didn't know it.
Yeah.
I'm really annoyed.
There
I missed out on more precious points.
What kind of logical reasoning did Sherlock Holmes use? L for logic there. Oh, lavatorial. That's not correct. Lavatorial reasoning. Take me through lavatorial reasoning.
You do, because when you go to the loo, it unclogs your body and your mind.
Oh, I see.
So, like, really it does. Yeah, when I'm at home, if I'm stressed by something, like a dishwasher, I can't load the dishwasher properly, and it's not working, and there's loads of bowls, and I can't get them in. I'm like, Jack, take a step back, go and drop the kids off at the pool, and come back to it. It works, because it does. sit on the loo, you think, right, what's the task going to be like? How am I going to attack this? Let's work out a game plan, a strategy. You deploy the troops, come back, and I'm slamming those plates in like Tetris.
You leave your children alone at a swimming pool.
That was a horrible metaphor.
I thought you were young. I thought a bit young to have children you could just drop off at the pool. That means...
Why would I take them?
That means have a poo. I didn't know that meant have a poo. Drop them at the pool. Yeah. I like that. That's quite a good one.
The logic is good as well.
But we have no evidence that that's used. But we do know from the books the kind of logic he used. There are different sorts of logic.
Well, now, if you eliminate the impossible, you're left with the possible.
Yes, if everything...
Deduction.
No, not deduction.
Oh, you idiot.
Deduction is essentially reasoning something which is unchallengeable. It must be true. You're given a set of premises and the deduction is true. So if you say all humans are mortal, Alan Davies is human, we can say that. Therefore, Alan Davies is mortal. That's just simply an absolute fact. It must be true. If those two premises are true, then the synthesis must be true as well. But abductive reasoning would be saying something like... I saw Alan Davies in an Arsenal scarf. He always cries when Arsenal lose. I saw Alan crying. Therefore, Arsenal just lost. Now, that isn't certainly true, but it's the kind of logic that Sherlock Holmes used. Not absolutely certain and definite to be true, but he was nearly always right. He reasoned abductively. So that's the sort he used.
Thank you for
American farmers, gentlemen, hate Shakespeare. There's a picture of American farmers hating Shakespeare. Something to do with Shakespeare caused immense trouble to American farming. It's not Shakespeare's fault at all.
Not some farming practice that's hidden away in the sonnets or something?
It was an eccentric drug manufacturer called Eugene Schieffelin, and he decided that America should contain examples of every bird species named in the works of Shakespeare. And one particular species didn't exist in America. And he thought, I'll introduce these. He introduced 100 to Central Park, and there are now estimated something like 200 million of them.
It's not the common pigeon, is it?
No, they come in huge flocks.
Starlings.
Starlings is the right answer. Starlings.
And they don't like them because they eat the seeds?
Yeah. Unfortunately, what they do is they befoul everything in their droppings that they don't eat. They're such huge flocks. Vast flocks.
I was on Brighton Pier one time, and there are lots of starlings there, and at dusk they do that.
They're beautiful.
And it's really amazing to watch.
Yeah, it's a
if you stand on the
sight.
pier. And then someone said that starlings come from hundreds of miles away to join in this coastal flocking.
Yeah.
And they come from as far away as Germany and Poland.
A lot of the Polish ones are coming over here now and taking away a lot of the... the British starlings jobs. You'll see a lot of British starlings just sat on the prom like this, come bloody typical.
Yeah, but they're the lazy British starlings who don't want to work.
Why don't they just get up and join in, you know? But they won't, will they? It's typical.
No, you're right. The flocks are up to 1 million, some of them. I mean, enormous flocks.
And are they just having fun? Or is it a good way of eating?
No, in the case of fish, I know that what they're really doing is presenting, as it were, an enormous fish that sort of glistens and frightens some predators, and in other cases it confuses and dazzles, and they're a lot safer than...
Starlings are basically scared of sharks.
I'm not so sure about the
shark. They might leap out of the West Pier.
You may laugh, but when was a starling last killed by a shark?
That's true.
So it works. You're absolutely right. It's 100%. It is 100% starkly proven that this shall keep us safe from sharks. Come on, boys. Boom! And they're like that.
So, good, excellent. Starlings were brought to America in an attempt to introduce all the birds in Shakespeare to the US. They're now major pests.
Anybody a fan of Lord of the Rings?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
So the guy who came up with the technology, Gamgee...
Samwise Gamgee.
Yes,
Frodo's best friend.
So...
Who never let him down, no matter what anyone said. I'll stay with you, Master Frodo. Give me your hand. That's what I do. Give me your hand.
I don't know if I fancy you more or less now.
I'm going to go with less.
Hados Hedos, Legolas. That's sit down, Legolas.
It's definitely less.
Anyway, he is named
After that man?
No, not after him, after his brother. His brother was called J. Sampson Gamgee, and he is the person who invented that surgical dressing where you get cotton wool between two pieces of absorbent gauze.
Oh, yeah.
And so he was known as Sampson Gamgee, and Sam Gamgee is most likely that Tolkien got the name from him, which is my connection between the Hobbits and ice skating just for you as a Christmas present.
Brilliant.
I auditioned for The Hobbit.
What? I don't know if I fancy you more or more.
Yeah, well, I didn't get it.
To be what, then?
The Hobbit.
Bilbo, you auditioned to be Bilbo Baggins.
I auditioned to be Bilbo Baggins, and the day before...
I'm going to blow your mind now, but go on, carry on.
They brought down the maximum height. And my agent phoned me, she said, how tall are you? And I said, I'm 5'6.5".
How tall do you want me to be? That's what you said. Never accept the premise of the question. Find out what they want.
So you didn't go?
No, they said we brought down the maximum height, but I still qualified. I was short enough to be a hobbit.
And?
I went. And I was dog shit.
I also auditioned for something in that.
Did you?
No. They said you'll be 4 hours a day in makeup in New Zealand. Is that OK? And I went, yep.
How tall are you?
How tall do you want me to be?
I went for a part for Frodo.
Did you?
Yeah, and they went, you're a bit tall, you look more like an elf, get out.
I really wanted an audition.
You're the right size and everything.
I don't think you'd have been professional on set.
I wouldn't have been.
Yeah,
I
so
would
you'd
have
have been
been so
like, can someone
excited.
remove this crying woman, please?
Shakespeare coined over 1,000 new words, but not all of them caught on. Here are some of the ones that didn't. See if you can put them into a sentence for me. Swaltery, quatch.
Quatch. I've got a sweltery quatch at the moment.
Already we're there, aren't we?
It happened when I put my kicky wickies on. Cock will be function. Yeah. I've always been near-legged.
You're a boggler in those times.
A boggle be Carlot.
You're function. What happened to Cockled Boggler?
Carlot, that's a thing. That's where people sell
That's a sexy
second-hand
garage.
cars.
Yes, well, that's true, actually.
It's just well ahead of its time.
Way ahead of its time.
Yeah.
A boggler is a very clumsy burglar.
Or it's a burglar that can't believe the stuff he's getting his hands on. Look at this DVD player.
Well, he used it to mean a hesitator, one who boggles. I don't know if that was in boggling the mind.
What is a kicky wicky? Is that like a Russell Brand's version of a football or something?
It's an affectionate term for a wife. Oh, my dear Kicky Wicky.
A kicky wicky is not an affectionate term.
Domestic violence is a lot more acceptable.
Oh, the old smashy washy. The old battery wattery. Punchy wunchy.
And a quatch. Or is it a quatch? It's actually an adjective.
A fetch.
Quatch. Quatch means be a bit podgy, a bit quatch.
Oh, you're a bit quatchy.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Luckily, I'm wearing a surgical truss.
Plump, shall we say. Whappened, or wappened, is corrupt. That's never really caught on, has it? But look at the ones that did catch on. Here's just a small example of words that are first used in Shakespeare. Accessible, acutely assembled, barefaced, beguiling, critic, even-handed, eyeball, Frenchwoman, hunchbacked, neglected, overpower, promising, radiance, revealing, rose-cheeked, schoolday synonymous, three-legged.
A French woman is a bit of a stretch. French woman. He invented it.
He invented taking the space out.
Yes, he may have done. Even-handed, bewitchment.
This is my wife. She is a thingamajig. I don't know. What can I call her? Oh, French woman.
I think you'll call her. She's a French woman.
French woman?
Of course, you can't be absolutely certain he invented all these because they may have been in use before, but he is often the first printed source we have for them.
He presumably had to have a pretty good idea that people would understand what he was going on about.
Yes, exactly. Oh, I've done it again.
Oh, no.
You know, this bit of rough is not behaving. I've said that before.
Where did Beethoven put his jingling Johnny? Yes, Sarah.
Mrs. Beethoven.
Jingling Johnny.
Yes.
I can't imagine a jingling Johnny, and it's something that the good folk at Durex have obviously missed out on. A seasonal range, but actually, you know, with a bell in the body around it. Yeah, nice.
I'll take that copy of 50 Shades of Grey away from you.
We've started our family Christmas show.
Yes.
Merry Christmas. Is Jingling
Tiny
Johnny,
Tim.
what might it be?
A triangle?
Well, you're in the right area.
Ah.
It's an instrument. Other composers, Haydn's 100th Symphony uses a Jingling Johnny. Berlioz was extremely fond of them, as was John Philip Sousa. And I even have one.
Is it a cowbell?
It's rather more complex than that. It's this.
Wow.
That is a Jingling Johnny. It's a large...
That make your eyes water,
Yeah,
wouldn't
look,
it?
look, you were supposed to not bring any props from The Hobbit back. Seriously, I could see you could go to Stonehenge next summer solstice and you could own the joint with that.
It was used as a marching... you up and down it with a march. Up and down. That's it. The army that used these began with J and has a connection with Vienna, the Siege of Vienna. If that means anything historically to you.
As opposed to, the feeling has got only you and I, this means nothing to me. Oh, Vienna.
It's not Ultravox, it's earlier than that, Vienna.
Very good popular culture, remember.
It's good that I should know that. I don't know I knew that either. Between Vienna and the East, the whole of that part of Eastern Europe was owned by an empire.
Ottoman Empire?
The Ottoman Empire. And their elite corps was called Janissaries. The Janissaries used these as they marched. And Beethoven used it in one of his most famous compositions, Ninth Symphony, the Choral Symphony. He uses a Jingling Johnny. And Hector Berlioz, one of the great French composers, claimed that the shaking of its sonorous locks added brilliancy to marching music.
Ah, I believe that it was later taken up, wasn't it, by on the X Factor? Is how they
Buddy, you're a boy, make a big noise. Take it away. It's compulsive.
From you.
It's the Casio of its day.
It is. There are
Casio.
there are other instruments of this nature. Buskers make their own versions. There's a thing called the Lagerphone. It's an Australian version where the ringing noise is made by, can you guess?
Lager.
Yeah, crowns, the crowns of bottle tops. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There are other names for it in other languages, obviously. The Dutch have the kutepeel and the monkey stick. And in Newfoundland, they actually have something called the ugly stick, oddly enough. The bum bass and the bladder fiddle, which are versions that have a string attached that you can pluck.
If you'd like me just to show you the majesty of Baker, name a 70s single that harnessed one of those instruments.
Pterodactyl and the Dinosaurs, Seaside Shuffle.
Ladies and gentlemen, Danny Baker.
It's like being in the room with Max Planck and Einstein while they're talking. Which instrument was it?
It was, they used the zob stick, which was what they called it, which was the bottle toppy.
Yes, they did.
You guys.
Sigmund Freud, Mark Twain, Henry James, a loony from Newcastle, and the Holy Ghost have in common.
Well, Mark Twain, I know had a link, but I don't know about the others. He was sceptical about Shakespeare because he thought that a toff wrote it. He didn't believe that a normal boy from Stratford could write.
Right.
Could write
He
properly.
was what you might call exactly a Shakespearean skeptic, as were the others. That's to say, Sigmund Freud also believed that, and Henry James, and the Professor Looney, that was unfortunately his name, though I believe it was pronounced Loney, from Newcastle, who wrote a book in 1920 called Shakespeare Identified. There was this whole movement, started in the 19th century, really, with the idea that it might have been Francis Bacon who wrote the works of Shakespeare. There was particularly a woman called Delia Bacon, who was an American and was completely insane, really. She came over to England and wrote a 625-page book.
God.
In which she didn't even mention the name Bacon. And then when she died, she claimed she was the Holy Spirit.
She claimed she was the Holy
Yes.
Spirit.
So the Holy Spirit, if she was right, also doesn't believe Shakespeare wrote Shakespeare. So if Bacon was one candidate, there are two other main candidates.
Oh, hang on. What was it?
Marlowe.
Christopher Marlowe.
Christopher Marlowe is one candidate. But the most popular one...
Oxford?
The Earl of Oxford is, yes, indeed, Edward de Vere.
Is that Edward de Vere?
That's Edward de Vere.
Wow, there's a lot going on there, isn't there?
There is, isn't there?
How does he keep that hat on?
It's sort of Kate Blanchett with a moustache. It's intense.
But, you know, there are serious people. I mean, Freud liked the fact that he lost his father early on, like Hamlet, because, of course, he had an Oedipus complex theory about Hamlet, Freud, so he liked that idea. Who else? Looney invented a rather fanciful scenario because the Earl of Oxford died in 1604, and Shakespeare carried on writing plays many years after that. So
that might almost be the point at which to abandon the theory.
Yeah, you'd think. Instead of which he claimed that before dying he'd left a whole sheaf of plays and that his servant, Shakespeare, then just produced them one after the other.
Isn't the Tempest written sort of 4 or 5 years after he died? 6 years, maybe, even after he died, referencing sort of stuff of the time. So after De Vere's dead.
Yes, quite.
He probably just left insert topical gag here.
Yeah, that's right. But there are Mark Rylance and Derek Jacobi, both supreme actors, and they both believe that it was the Earl of Oxford. There isn't a shred of evidence, as far as I can see.
It sort of doesn't matter. On the basis that what Shakespeare means to people is the guy that wrote those plays. And so if the guy that wrote those plays is a different guy that wrote those plays, that's still what a great guy.
Yes.
It's not an earth-shattering conspiracy, really, is it? That perhaps it isn't him?
Oh, no, 5,000 books on the subject, incredibly. Yeah, I know, it's extraordinary.
Yet no scrap of evidence.
Not real evidence, to be honest. No, it's just speculation. And the odd thing is, they often say, well, we know so little about Shakespeare. There are very, very few people of the Elizabethan era about whom we know more. I mean, Ben Jonson, for example, who was a very famous playwright. We don't even know where Ben Jonson was born or how many children he had.
If other people were writing the plays, why didn't they say so at the time?
Well, quite. I mean,
that's the bit I don't understand. It always seems to go that he didn't write all that. Well, wouldn't it have come out if other people had...
Yeah, but if it was Ben Jonson or any of those others, jolly good luck to them, I say.
Was it just because he wasn't posh? Does it just come down
It's
to basic
kind of snobbery.
classes?
They think, well, he was just this kid from Warwickshire and he was a woodlander, and, you know, but in fact, his father was a glover, which is a perfectly decent trade, as you say, and he went to the grammar school there almost certainly. And
He's sort of, you'd think, exactly as far up the society as you'd expect a major writer to be.
Yes.
Not, you know, it's not like now the best novels are written by the Duke of Westminster.
No. Now, his vocabulary. How many words do you think he used? I'm not counting repeats. He used a lot, obviously.
Yeah. Dagger, murder...
This could take us a long time, yes.
Well, we've got to start somewhere.
You've got to start somewhere, you're right.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
5,000.
Yeah. That's 20,000 words. 20,000 words. And how does that compare to the average vocabulary of a Briton, would we say, roughly? That we
4 times as much.
No, half as much. Half as much.
Less.
Surprisingly, yes. I mean, we're not saying that Shakespeare used every word he knew in his books. I'm sure he left lots out. I don't remember the word clitoris.
He didn't use hard drive.
I think it's in the second folio.
Oh, it might be. You know. So it's about half that of the average modern English person's vocabulary, because obviously he didn't have certain words to call on, like, you know, texting or vajazzle or whatever. But on the other hand, he did have, you know, guerdon and bodkin and fardel, which we don't use so much.
Yoghurt,
Yoghurt. I don't suppose Shakespeare knew what yoghurt was.
Broadband.
No.
Broadband. That's it. There are a lot of words. In The Sun, David Crystal, who's a well-known linguistic fellow, and he estimated there would be about 6,000 words in any complete issue of The Sun, whereas the King James Bible has just 8,000. So this idea that we're all dumbed down to a lower vocabulary is not necessary.